Like most people, when I started playing disc golf, I had an Innova starter set, some hand-me-down discs, which were also Innova, so that was pretty much all that I threw. And once I started to round out my bag, I just stuck with what I was used to and kept throwing Innova. It wasn't until a couple of years into playing disc golf when I really started to try out some new stuff, and especially with this channel, I've been given the opportunity to try a bunch of new discs out pretty much on a weekly basis. And so I've tried a bunch of stuff. I obviously haven't tried a lot, but for what I've tried, I've found what I think are a lot of hidden gems, discs that I think are really underrated and I think a lot of people should try out. Obviously, there's a lot of discs that are super popular that everyone should try, but these are the ones that I think are perhaps a little bit underrated, maybe fly under the radar, aren't as popular as I think they should be, and if you haven't tried them before, I really think you should give it a shot. So here are 5 discs I think every disc golfer needs to try out if you haven't already. Starting off, we have a putter. If you remember the series I did, I think last year, I was looking for my ideal throwing putter, and it took a little while. I tried a bunch of different discs out, and for the last year or so, maybe a year and a half, I finally landed on a disc that I think is my ideal throwing putter. That is the Discmania Logic. It is a 3301, and it definitely has that 3 glide. I can throw this disc pretty dang far. I would say 350 pretty comfortably, putting some decent power on it, and this thing easily goes like 320 or 330 without even having to try to throw it that hard. I think this should be up there with the Envy as one of the better throwing putters on the market, and I'm very surprised a lot more people aren't throwing this disc. There's also a ton of different plastic variations. You even have the Cosmic Fury, which is Kyle Klein's sort of tour series version of this putter. I have the Cosmic Stone here, which is a C-line version of the disc, and this is a Lux Vapor, which I've had in the bag for over a year now and is actually beat in to be pretty understable, which is really nice for being able to shape lines in the woods, throw turnovers, slow panning shots, flip ups, whatever you want to do. You can really get different stages of wear with this disc, where the C-line is pretty overstable and this one's even more beat up. And then if you want to go with like an Exo Hard or an Exo Soft, something more of a base plastic, you can really get some nice flip ups or turnovers, which is really, really nice. It's a super versatile disc. It flies really far. It's got a nice shallow feel to it as well. So if you're like me and have smaller hands, this disc just feels amazing and throws amazing. And I can't see myself switching to another throwing putter as long as I have an open bag or am throwing Discmania. Next up, we have what I think is MVP's most underrated mid-range, which is the Matrix. I was pretty surprised to see that Simon ended up going with the Balance as a new disc he wanted to release after I had tried the Matrix out, because I feel like this fits that slot of stability between a Hex and a Pyro really well. The profile is really nice. I wouldn't let that -1.2 fool you. I would say it's closer to a 0.2 or a 0.1.5. I don't think this disc necessarily gets a ton of turn. It just kind of wants to push straight, maybe flip up a little bit, and then fade out at the end. It's not going to flip over like the Hex will, but it's not going to dump out like crazy like the Pyro will. I've been finding this disc to be more and more useful the more I've thrown it. The only thing I can think of with the Balance is it is beaded. It's a little bit different of a feel, so maybe he's just trying to go for more of that like sort of Rock 3 type disc. But if you like these sort of non-beaded discs like I do, I think you really love the Matrix. And if you're ever looking for more of a straight to stable flying mid-range that isn't like super overstable like a Pyro, like maybe even a Rock 3 or a Buzz OS or something like that, I really think the Matrix is one of the most underrated mid-ranges, not even just an MVP, just at any company in general. This disc is becoming really nice for me, and it's also really good on forehands. I can throw really nice flip-up forehands. It holds the torque really well. So I am a huge fan of this disc, and I really think everyone should try it out. And I think, honestly, MVP should be pushing it harder because it is a fantastic disc. Another mid-range here. This one's not currently in my bag. It was in my bag for a while, but I just think this disc is so versatile and can cover so many slots. I got it pretty long time ago when I first started playing disc golf, basically, and that is the Star Cayman. Not the Star Cayman, just the Cayman in general, but I love the feel of the Star Cayman. This is a 5.5 speed, 2 glide, 0 turn, 4 fade. And I would say those numbers are pretty accurate. I feel like the 2 glide is selling it a little bit short. This thing can glide pretty well. I feel like this is just a mid-range that can pretty much do anything. It's overstable. You can throw it on so many different shots. If you want to use it like a zone, you can kind of just use it for little up shots. If you want to throw it off the tee and get like 300, it's super, super versatile. It always goes exactly where you want it. That sort of low glide profile that it has allows it to have really, really good accuracy, consistency. You're not gonna have the wind throwing this thing around a bunch or going and doing some weird stuff and skipping all weird. It's pretty much gonna land where you want it. This star Cayman plastic, both of these just feel absolutely amazing. I love the way this thing flies, and I just think if you ever wanna put a mid-range in your bag and not pretty much bag any other approach discs, this can pretty much do it all. It's so underrated, and I don't see a lot of people throwing it, even though I think it is a crazy, crazy good disc that can do so many different things. You could basically take the zone, the pyro, the deflector, the tactic, all of those out of my bag, and I could pretty much only throw this thing. Obviously, I like those options, and I'm gonna, widen my horizons a little bit, but if I wanted to, I could probably just put this in my bag and cover the slot of all 4 of those discs. So even though it's not in the bag right now, I really like this disc, and I think a lot of people should try it out. Next up, we have another Discmania disc. This is the CD1. When I first tried this disc out, I think I had some issues with my form where I would kind of maybe round a little bit or like release the disc too flat or anhyzer, and so I didn't fully appreciate what this disc was because it was a little bit more understable. But as I've gotten better at throwing, I have really started to appreciate how awesome this disc is. In particular, I really like this first run CD1. This is when Discmania started making their own discs after Innova stopped making them, and this particular one is very good, but all of the CD1s are honestly awesome, and I love, again, the Discmania plastic. The C-line plastic is absolutely amazing. I love throwing it. This disc can do so much. It's great for turnovers, for hyzer flips. It can go really far. It has like a sneaky amount of stability. I don't know if every single run of CD1 has that stability. Some might be a bit flippier, but this has been in my bag for I think over a year now, and it still has some decent stability to it. I can even throw it on forehands, and honestly, I'm pretty comfortable throwing this thing on a forehand. It's really great in the woods. You can have it on so many different lines, and I feel like it's just that one disc where you don't always know exactly what shot you want to throw it on, but when you need it, it fits it perfectly. If I want to throw like 360 to 370 in the woods where it pushes and flips up and turns a little bit but then fades out at the end, like I don't have any other disc in my bag that really does this quite the way the CD1 does. I can also put it on anhyzer and get it to pan out. Like, it's just so good and versatile, and I feel like I don't see a lot of people throwing this disc. This is probably the most popular of the 5 I'm going to show, but I really think this disc doesn't quite get enough love, and I think more people should be throwing it, so definitely check it out. And last but not least, we have the Discraft Drive. This was Paige Pierce's disc. I think she came out with last year, and I tried it out when it first came out and was a huge fan of it. And I see some people throwing it, but honestly, I don't see quite as many people throwing it. And I honestly think this is like, it's hard to say this, but I almost feel like it's a better version of the Wraith. Every run of this disc I've gotten has been fantastic. Same thing with the first run. The prototype run for this is very good and probably my preferred run, at least from what I've thrown. It's just like, if you want to throw tight kind of flip up wooded lines that doesn't really turn over too much, it's got a bit of a flatter profile to it. And so if you want to throw something that flips up and rides and then kind of maybe turns over a little bit or fades out in the woods, these like tight lines where you got to throw like 400 feet, this is just an unbelievably good disc. Again, like with the Cayman, it's not in my bag right now just because I don't feel like I need it, but it could find a way back into my bag if I feel like there's a shot that I really need this disc for. It's just very reliable. It doesn't have too much stability to it, and so you can really work the disc on a lot of different angles. Similar to the CD1, it can also hold nice panning turnover angles really well. I just think it's pretty versatile, super reliable. It does its job so well, and I think it's a great disc in that it's an 11 speed that can hold tight lines for very long distances, where I feel like once you get up into the sort of 11 or 12 speed range, discs want to move left to right a lot. So if I'm trying to throw like a destroyer or an emperor or a boss or something like that in the woods, it's probably going to want to move left or right quite a bit, especially when I'm throwing it pretty hard. But when I've thrown the Drive, I've found that I can get it to just flip up and ride straight for super long and not have a lot of variation in its flight. Anyway, those are my most underrated discs I think everyone should try out. Just a short little video. I wanted to share, I've tried a lot of discs out over the years, and I think there's a couple that just don't get quite enough love, and I want to make my case for why I think these are all discs that should be a bit higher on the totem pole when it comes to public recognition, at least in the disc golf community. Of course, you can get any of these discs at otbdisc.com and use my code at checkout, which is in the description, for free shipping. Also, if you want this hat that I've been wearing, I think it's kind of cool or funny, you can go to my website, first link in the description, and get it for 20 bucks. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.